Hello, so here we are. So thankful that you can join us. Those who are live, thank you so much for being here. And those of you who are watching after the fact, cool. Love to share with you all this amazing information. There's just so much and I'll try to move as quickly as I can. But first, I would like to welcome the City of San Antonio employees that are watching this right now. You will eventually watch this, I know. You'll see it on YouTube or you'll find it some way. So first I really want to acknowledge that the City of San Antonio did a pretty good job. I mean, they really did the best they could. They came with the code, they came at me, said a lot of information, and I want to give a lot of respect to the City of San Antonio for doing their job. That's what they're there for. And I also there's two big lessons that I learned with this experience. First, it's awesome. If you're a neighbor and you complain on your neighbor for whatever, call 311, you complain on your neighbor, guess what? They're gonna respond. So first of all, thank you City of San Antonio for responding to neighbor complaints. It's a good thing that we have this in place just because things happen in our neighborhoods and we want them to be the kind of neighborhoods we wanna live in. And secondly, a big thing that I learned is I wasn't proactive enough. So if you're the person that gets complained upon, call the City of San Antonio and talk to them about the complaint that's been against you, right? And get some information. So that was something that I did not do. I really trusted what was given to me. There was a letter, whatever, given to me saying how I was out of compliance, and I just took that as face value when I should have called the city and gotten more information. So when I showed up in court, I was surprised. There was so much more that they were coming at me with that I did not know. And had I been proactive to find out about my hearing ahead of time would have been really good. And also, again, remember, that's what the city's there for. So they're watching right now, which I'm sure they're gonna see this video because they showed one of my videos as evidence in the hearing. They will see this, so thank you so much for your hard work, City of San Antonio. You're doing a great job. Even if most of it was thrown out, still, I think it was a valiant effort and you were a formidable opponent. So, had a great time going through that. And I will say that court proceedings, again, this is an edge for me. It's super scary for me to go in front of authorities. And what I needed to do is just kind of relax, realize they're just normal people just like me. They're doing their job. They do this every day and it probably sucks. And sometimes maybe they even hate their job. I get it. So for me, it was really hard to deal with, there was a time for questioning and then time for rebuttal. So I wasn't prepared, I didn't know. So at one point I could question the officers and the department and then I couldn't defend myself. And then later I could defend myself. So kind of getting some of that, the jitters out at first and being corrected. Hey, this isn't a time for you to defend, this is a time for you to question, was a good way for me to slow down, but scary because I didn't know the rules. The judge was super cool and really felt she was neutral the whole time. So that was really awesome as well. And I also want to say to the City of San Antonio, I have every interest in being compliant to the code. So please know that that is my heart's intent. Sometimes the code I didn't even understand some things about it, and you'll see in this video how I kind of fumbled through some things. And if I don't like the code, guess what? We can change it, right? That's what we're here. We're citizens. We can go to our council people and change the code if we don't like things, or at least begin that step. And so when it comes to social justice and accessibility, there is an issue. You'll see in this video about how the code doesn't really allow for changes in our society. And I think, or at least I need to figure out and find out why our code is the way it is. So here is what happened. When I received hold on, I'll bring it to you. I won't show it completely because it has the address on there. All right, when I received this citation, I read it and it just basically said it was because I wasn't a resident of this home. Oh, and actually before I go into what they accused me of, why did this even start? So why did this happen is because the neighbors called 311 and said that there was a escort service being, that was happening here in this space, right, in the place that I live. And so once neighbors kind of think, okay, something's fishy happening and something illegal or criminals happening, makes sense, right? You call your 311, you call the city and say, I think something illegal is happening there. And so that began an investigation that opened all of this. And at some point then, now I was being held accountable for what I said I had an occupation, I was working out of the home. All right, so arriving there, they said, oh, not only are we getting you on that you don't live in the house that you work in, we're getting you on these other things. So what did they do? You're gonna love this. Okay, so I'm gonna actually show you step by step all the different points, and then we'll go through them one by one, kind of how it develops. So let me turn this around. Okay, so this is actually the code that you need if you want to start, if you have an occupation that you'd like to perform out of your home. This is what you'll need to read and figure out. And so take a look right here. Number one, actually, I don't want y'all to read this ahead of time because that's no fun. I like things to happen as we go. So number one, I got my first violation they accused me of was, home occupation shall be conducted in a manner which would, obviously not increase traffic, right? That's number one, super important. If you're gonna have an occupation, please do not have more traffic. So that was the first thing that they told me that I was doing. I was increasing traffic in the neighborhood. Number two, home occupation shall not use advertising media which calls attention to the fact that the dwelling unit is being used for the home occupation. What does that mean? They caught me on this. I use social media to run my occupation, and because I use social media, that is troubling. I use a lot of social media. I'm all over the place, and because of that, because of social media using right here, advertising media, it draws attention to the dwelling unit, and because of that, that was another way that I was violating the code. So bad social media. So that you know, if you have an occupation and you use social media, you better be really careful about ever mentioning the place that you live. The third thing they accused me of, the third and fourth thing actually, is that the person that's doing the home occupation must solely be resident occupant, so it must live here. And they also said, super important, and this is the one I did not understand, you cannot hire anyone or even have a volunteer in your occupation. Now, listen to that carefully. If you have an occupation that you're using out of your home, if you're selling makeup, if you're doing taxes, if you're doing anything, you cannot have even a volunteer. But, much less someone for hire. You cannot hire an assistant to support you in your occupation. Whew, what do you think about that? All right, so let's go one by one. Increased traffic. They brought evidence to I feel like I want to say trial. That wasn't a trial, it was a hearing. They brought evidence showing images of vehicles parked. They said that there was many different calls from neighbors complaining with the traffic. They showed my business card that showed the different things that I did. And of course asked lots of questions. And I want to say that it seems like now they even asked me, are you running a business? And I'm like, what do you mean by business? Because I could tell that it was a leading question. Like they go, well, a business is something that's like a commercial thing. And they kind of push it like more commercial. And I'm like, I don't know how you define business. Business is defined really differently for me. I just think if I'm making money, I have a business. Yay, right? No. So go back to the word home occupation. I have an occupation, I occupy, I work, I have my occupation. I can do my occupation in this space, but I cannot have a business in this space. I'm getting this now. I'm starting to hear like the distinction that they were trying to make that I didn't understand. I do not have a business. I have an occupation, and I can do my occupation solely, me here, as long as I live here, but no one else, I can't run a business. I want you to think about, again, the ramifications of so many people that do their business. Let's say an eBay business. If you read through the rest of the code, you can't sell goods. You can't take over 25% of your home for your occupation. There's a lot of things actually that we can't do. And most people just start a business thinking, I'll just run it from my home out of the garage even. You can't actually do your home occupation out of a garage or a carport. Again, the code is there. So if the city gets called and investigates, they fine you, they shut you down until you can comply. So I think with their intention for this whole experience was to get me to go commercial. They think that I've grown way too big. The fact that my social media presence is large in their opinion, there's so much traffic, they think I should go commercial. And that's what they're trying to push people, go that direction. So how did I defend myself, right? Out of those four things, the increased traffic violation was dismissed. The social media one was dismissed. Being a resident was dismissed. Having an assistant, you guys all know that I've mentioned that I have an assistant that is so exciting and it's been great and so supportive, and it just relieved a lot of the stuff that I needed to get done. That one I found guilty on, and yes, that's where it kind of ended for me. So I need to fire my assistant, and I need to come in compliance. I need to come back next week. This is a thing I have Is the address on there? Make sure there's no address. Okay. I come back to court next week and show that I have fired my assistant, and I will have a letter basically terminating her work. And even if I had volunteers, I'd have to fire all my volunteers. Again, because this is an occupation, not a business. All right, so what did I do with the other things? Okay, increased traffic. They could not prove, the city could not prove that the traffic was business related or occupation related. They couldn't prove that. So once I showed them, like, showed them the mirror, like, okay, you can say that there's all this traffic, but how do you know it's not my girlfriend's? And I have friends who maybe are watching right now who've come and visited me and haven't had lunch with me, and I've had people, and I've had other cuddlists come, and we've just sat around and talked and visited, and we've been redoing the bathrooms. Both bathrooms we've redone, and we have people here helping with remodeling. So there's been traffic here, but it's not all occupation related. So increased traffic that is occupation related was really hard for them to prove, and they can't prove it. So thrown out. Social media. I think most of you can agree with this. I don't have the address for this location, this home, all over social media. It's not on my website. It's my website. It's not anywhere. I mean, if you have to go to private membership only locations to find the address to this location. Otherwise, it's not out there. So they couldn't use the social media thing. It's what is bringing in traffic here. It's not true. And just be careful. If you have a business or a home occupation, not a business, if you have a home occupation where you have people come to your space, never put your address out there. That's going to be really bad for you. They're going to catch you on that one, because advertising media, social media, they don't want that to happen. All right, being a resident. I am in a relationship with Carlos. I've been living here. I have my stuff here since 2015. So I didn't have to say much about that. I have changed my ID. They never checked it. I mean, I'm like, I shouldn't even change my ID. What's the point? Because they never checked my ID. So driver's license changing wasn't necessary. And again, just showing that Carlos is on the deed of trust. He owns this place. We're in a relationship. That was all the judge really needed. And that was really cool, because that was one thing that I was actually most worried about. That's why I was going to prove that I was a resident. That's all I thought I was doing. But nope, there was so much more that the city came at me with. And then the employee thing. So how did they find out that I have an assistant? In one of my videos, the one that they came walking through, I mentioned that my assistant was coming. Now I thought they meant, does your assistant work out of the home? And I'm like, well, she works from home too. She doesn't work here. We can do everything online. And they said, no, just the fact that you have an assistant, just the fact that you have someone that is helping you, that's, even if she were volunteer, even if she was doing it for free, that is against the code. So I just have Tamara, who private messaged me and asked, so no employee, no contract worker, no, nothing. Like, no one can help me in my business unless they live here. So Carlos can, if he lives here, he does live here, he can be my assistant. He can work and he can do all the stuff I ask him to do. And which I will say, he does help me a lot. He can actually support my home occupation, but I keep using the word business, sorry, I use it interchangeably, but remember, this is not a business. So he can support me and work for me, but nobody else. Nobody can support, help, volunteer, any of it. Something to think about. Yeah, that's the one. That's actually the thing that I'd like to see changed. If there's a thing in the code, like, just think about this as well. I couldn't hire someone in Romania. I can't get virtual assistants. I can't hire someone across the country to help me with my social media or with my website. Just think about what that means. I can't get anyone to help me with anything. I can't have an apprentice, no. Nothing, no, nobody. No one can help me. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't, and then what they're thinking is, well, if you have people to help you, guess what? You should open up a commercial business. That doesn't make any sense to me. How someone can jump being a solo, entrepreneur to having a commercial space paying thousands of dollars and renting a space, and then that's when you can have volunteers. I don't get it. So that's the part of the code. Those of you who are into social justice and accessibility and helping people that are in poverty grow, like, that's something that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Right. So right now, before I made my video, I contacted my beautiful assistant, Mary, and said, Mary, you're terminated. So sorry. It's terrible. I just got her. She's awesome. She can't. And I will, again, have to write up a letter and have her sign it, and I will sign it too, saying goodbye to Mary. I'm reading some of the responses. Someone, Tamara, said, I'd like to understand more about that too, Janet. From what you said, it seems very outside of how small businesses are run today. Yeah, I think most people, again, would be shocked to know that this is how the code works. And you can read it for yourself again. The code, if you want to look it up, is section 35-378. Go to home occupation, San Antonio code. If you just type in, again, section 35-378, you can read this for yourself. It is online. It's really easy to access. And yeah, so I'm thinking that I'm done. So what can I do then? Want to be in compliance, want to be really good about my work, and I'm reading some of the comments. So here's how it happens. I may not be able to have too many 1-hour clients. I may only be able to have, maybe that 1-hour client, I see them in a public space like a hotel, or maybe like hotel lobbies are fantastic, So we could meet together in a hotel lobby, have that hour session, cuddle, I don't know, figure out ways. But then maybe the clients that I see in this space are going to be my 2-hour clients. Like I only do 2 hours here. So I'm thinking again, how I can reduce traffic and expand more in hours. The other thing is I make sure that my address is never, ever, ever out there, right? Because again, they're accusing, if it's on social media, the address is out there, then yeah, that's something that the city does not look well onto. Okay, I think I've finished everything for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I love you all. Thank you for joining me on this wild journey of figuring out city codes and figuring out how to do the work and how to grow it and be in compliance and learn and change the codes even. So we'll see what happens next week. Next week I'll be finishing this whole thing up, going to court again to finally terminate my employee. Sorry, Mary. I love you. Bye. Again, bye-bye.